Remember that time you went to the petrol station and you saw the numbers on the pump climbing higher and higher? You probably swore you'd switch to a bicycle because fuel was so dear, didn't you? Well, you weren't alone. Well, buckle up because inflation is back with a vengeance, and it's not just the fuel prices that are skyrocketing. It's brought along its best mate, soaring energy bills. Yes, those dreaded energy bills that seem to creep up on you every month. Yes, folks, the UK inflation rate has shot up to 2.3%, and it's affecting every aspect of our daily lives, making everything from your morning toast to your evening takeaway pricier. Even the simplest of groceries are now a luxury. It's enough to make a grown man weep, or at least seriously reconsider his spending habits. You might even think about trading in that Aston Martin for a more fuel-efficient ride. But let's be honest, who wants to give up their dream car? This isn't just some minor inconvenience, it's a full-blown economic drama unfolding right before our eyes. Financial analysts are sounding the alarm, and news broadcasts are filled with dire predictions. The cost of living is skyrocketing faster than Richard Hammond on a drag strip. And the worst part, it feels like there's no end in sight. It's all thanks to those pesky energy bills, which seem to be multiplying faster than rabbits on a reality TV show. Every time you turn on the stove or switch on a light, you can almost hear the meter running faster and faster. It's a constant reminder of the financial strain we're all under. And it's not just energy bills. The cost of food, transportation, and even basic necessities are all climbing. People are finding it harder to make ends meet. Families are having to budget more carefully, cutting back on non-essentials and sometimes even essentials just to get by. It's a tough time for everyone, and the financial news doesn't seem to be offering any relief. But remember, we're all in this together. Communities are coming together, helping each other out and finding ways to cope with these challenging times. So brace yourselves, stay strong, and let's face this inflation storm head on. Let's be honest, nobody enjoys receiving their energy bill. It's like getting a parking ticket for a parking space you didn't even want. But lately, these bills have transformed from mildly irritating to downright terrifying. We're talking horror movie villain levels of scary. Why the sudden price surge? Well, it's a perfect storm of unfortunate events. Global energy prices have gone bonkers. Supply chains are about as reliable as a reliant robin in a hurricane. And demand is through the roof as everyone emerges from their pandemic hibernation. The result? Energy bills that would make even the most hardened accountant break into a cold sweat. Remember all those lovely things you were planning to buy with your hard-earned cash? That new smartphone? That weekend getaway? Maybe even that fancy dinner at the new restaurant downtown? Well, you might want to put those plans on hold because thanks to inflation, your purchasing power has just taken a nosedive. Prices are rising faster than our incomes, making it harder to afford even the basics. Groceries, gas, and utilities are all costing more, leaving less room in the budget for those little luxuries we used to enjoy. Low-income households are feeling the squeeze the most as they spend a larger chunk of their income on essentials like food and heating. When prices go up, these families have to make tough choices, often sacrificing their needs to make ends meet. It's a tough situation, and sadly, there's no magic money tree, although I'm sure the Chancellor wishes there was. Government officials are scrambling to find solutions, but the road ahead looks challenging. But it's not just consumers who are suffering. Small businesses, the backbone of our economy, are also feeling the heat. Rising costs for raw materials, shipping and labor are squeezing their profit margins tighter than a pair of skinny jeans on a sumo wrestler. Many businesses are struggling to stay afloat, with some even facing the tough decision to close their doors for good. This not only affects the business owners, but also their employees and the communities they serve. It's a recipe for economic indigestion, and nobody wants to see that. The ripple effects of this financial strain are far-reaching, impacting every aspect of our daily lives. From the food we eat to the jobs we hold, everyone is feeling the pinch. So what's the solution to this economic migraine? Well, that's the million-dollar question, or rather, the billion-pound question, isn't it? The government is under immense pressure to pull a rabbit out of the hat and find a way to ease the cost of living crisis. Some bright sparks have suggested increasing benefits or handing out one-off payments to help with those monstrous energy bills. Others are calling for tax cuts, which sounds lovely in theory, but could leave a rather large hole in the government's pocket. It's a tricky situation, like trying to parallel park a double-decker bus in rush hour. Meanwhile, over at the Bank of England, the folks in charge of our monetary policy are sweating more than a polar bear in a sauna. The pressure is immense, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Every decision they make has far-reaching consequences, not just for the UK, but for the global economy as well. They're facing a dilemma that would make even Sherlock Holmes scratch his head. The complexity of the situation is mind-boggling, with countless variables to consider and no clear solution in sight. How do you control inflation without strangling economic growth in the process? It's a balancing act that requires precision and foresight, much like walking a tightrope over a pit of hungry alligators. Raising interest rates is one option, but it's a risky move. Higher rates can cool down inflation, but they can also slow down economic activity, making it harder for businesses to borrow and invest. Too much too soon, and the economy could stall faster than a Trabant on a hill. This could lead to higher unemployment and a recession, which would be disastrous for everyone. But do too little, and inflation might just decide to stick around like an unwelcome houseguest. Persistent inflation erodes purchasing power, making everyday goods and services more expensive for everyone. It's enough to give even the most seasoned economist a severe case of heartburn. The pressure to get it right is immense, and the margin for error is razor thin. Every move is scrutinized, and the consequences of a misstep could be catastrophic. So what does the future hold? Will inflation continue its upward trajectory, or will it eventually come back down to earth? Unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball, though a crystal champagne flute might be nice right now. The truth is, nobody knows for sure what the future holds. There are simply too many variables in play. Will energy prices stabilize? Will supply chains get their act together? Will the Bank of England find that elusive sweet spot between controlling inflation and supporting growth? Only time will tell. In the meantime, all we can do is hold on tight and hope for the best. So there you have it. Inflation is up, energy bills are scary, and the economic outlook is about as clear as a mud wrestling competition. But before you go into full-blown panic mode, remember this: panicking never solved anything. Yes, times are tough, but we've been through worse. Remember the great toilet paper shortage of 2020? We survived that, didn't we? So keep your chin up, tighten your belt a notch or two, and remember that even in the face of economic uncertainty, there's always a reason to smile. After all, laughter is the best medicine, and it's a lot cheaper than therapy.